It is Thursday, May 25th of 2023, and you are watching, sorry, I gotta keep an eye on traffic, are watching Guys Daily Drive. Bam! And welcome everyone to Guys Daily Drive. Hope this is not quite centered. A little bit. There we go. Okay. I hope you are all having a wonderful, wonderful day. And I didn't want to talk about eye stuff today, but there is some news on that front. Last week, I got my CT scan. Damn, this thing keeps dropping down a little bit. And the results came in, but I have no idea what it means. And, you know, the way things are now, you rarely get your first impression of what some of these tests mean from your doctor. It's not like he says, okay, we'll come in on Thursday and we'll talk about what happened. No, there's apps for everything. So I've got this app called MyChart that the local hospitals and some of the local doctors all kind of subscribe to. And it's not that it's a bad app. It is a good app because it keeps you informed of appointments. If you can ask your doctor a question through it and he responds to you through it, so you're not playing telephone tag. But for the most part, it's still medical speak when you see these results, and you really don't have any idea what any of it means, because you'll see something that seems like it's like no big deal. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I can't see how the way that's worded means I have to worry about anything. And when you finally see your doctor, he says, no, you've got about 30 seconds to live. Or you'll see something that just looks so horrible. Oh my God, I should be panicking right now. But it turns out you'll die from being eaten by a shark before this will affect you in the slightest. And it's like, can we change the language? Or when we get these reports in MyChart or whatever your local equivalent is, excuse me, can we get it also worded in such a way that it's going to make sense to the average schmo on the street, when they're probably already anxious about whatever it is that they've gone and gotten a test for, and you come in with this jargon that only doctors and 13th century philosophers can understand. So I've got the result, but I have no idea what it means. And I went to call Dr. Deegan from Spectrum Ophthalmology. He's an ophthalmologist. Something like that. There's like a PH that sounds like an F in there, but he's a really, really good doctor. And when I called yesterday, I found out he's not in until Friday, so I won't find out until sometime tomorrow what the results actually mean. It's like, okay, that's wonderful. But so far, everything's good. I'm not really obsessing over it. I'm not obsessing or trying not to obsess over the eye. It's all just kind of background at this point, and you deal with it as best you can. So let's get off that topic and talk about something else. So as you can see, I'm wearing a DC Defenders hat. And if you don't know who the DC Defenders are, they are, almost said were, but we got through the season, and that's a plus. They are a American football team outdoor football team with a sort of new league. I say sort of for a reason. XFL, Extreme Football League, which had its first season back in 2000, 2001, something like that. And it pretty much was a financial bust for everybody involved. Mostly because they did a lot of really kind of stupid things, and people stopped watching because it was just too stupid. It was tied in with WWF wrestling, and they had some of the announcers were actually wrestling announcers, and it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, why are you changing a game that, you know, I mean, you decided to make a league that was going to ape another league because that other league was very, very popular. But then you're going to change all these things about it that make it less like the thing that you're trying to copy. Why would you do that? That makes no sense at all. Especially with some of the stupid things they did. Like they had, in order to find out who was going to get the ball first, instead of doing like just a coin toss, they would actually do this thing where they had the ball set at a set point on the field, and then a guy from each team had to race to get to the ball, and whoever got to the ball and secured it was the team that would get the ball. You know, it was kind of dumb, but those are the kinds of things that they did. They let players put whatever the heck they wanted to put on the back of their jerseys for their names, which also was dumb because some of their choices were not that good, not that smart. So it folded after a single season. And then fast forward 20 years later, the new XFL, under pretty much the same leadership, came out, and they started to play games, and DC Defenders were one of the teams that was there. But it was like they started up just before COVID went crazy. So they got through, I think, 7-8 games when they were kind of forced to shut down because people couldn't congregate. And of course, some of the teams were also coming down with COVID because you've got all this close contact between this large group of people, which is what football is. So a couple more years go by. XFL is bought out by a new ownership group that includes Dwayne Johnson, and they begin their season this year. And the odds-on early favorite was the DC Defenders. They just went out, and anybody that took them on just got their asses beat. And they won game after game after game, and they finally lost to the Orlando Guardians, which was the team that had the fewest amount of wins, and even by that point, there was no way they were going to make the playoffs. And they kind of showed their weak side by losing to the Guardians. So playoffs come, and the four teams, let me see, it was Seattle and DC played for the North, and Seattle was a pretty good team. And Houston Roughnecks, which were like the Southern Division champs, and the Arlington Renegades, which kind of squeaked in with a losing record. They were 4-6. The Northern Division kind of stomped all over the Southern Division. So that's why a lot of those teams, even though they had more losses than you would normally associate with a championship team, that's why they got into the playoffs. So Arlington was 4-6. Houston was only 6-4, something like that. And in a bit of a surprise, Arlington beat Houston in their home stadium. So Arlington was the Southern reps. DC beat Seattle, and they were the Northern reps. And everybody pretty much just assumed that DC was just going to walk all over them, because on paper, Arlington just didn't seem to have the necessary firepower to take on DC. But then, of course, you have to play the game. And that's the way it is with everything. Don't just automatically assume that the team that's not expected to win is just going to show up and say, oh, okay, we're going to lose, so we're not going to try that hard. Arlington came out, scored on their first possession, and never looked back. I think DC got within 3 points at one point, but it was never really close. DC never really seemed to be in the game. And I missed it. I didn't get to see the game live because that Saturday was the same Saturday that Peter graduated. So we'd gone to University of Maryland's university campus for Peter's graduation and then went out to dinner afterwards. And when I got back, I didn't look at the results. I started to watch the replay of the game. And within about 10 minutes of watching the game, started fast forwarding because it was obvious that DC was having problems, and they lost the game. They'd only lost one game. They were 10-1, including the playoff game, throughout the entire season, only losing to Orlando. And Arlington kind of handed them their ass. They were never really in the game. And it was disappointing. I was really, really kind of disappointed. And the part that also disappointed me was that I had no chance to go to any of the games this year, because early in the season we had stuff going on, and then the eye stuff all started up, and it was like, are you gonna go to a football game with a bunch of other people when all this other stuff? It's like, no. So I never got the chance to go to and see them at any of their games live, which I had planned to go to at least 2 of the games, at least 2 of them, of the 5 games that they had at home, 6 games counting the playoff game. And I never made it. I never got the chance to go to any of the games. And then they lost the championship game. So better luck next year, I guess, for me to be able to go see the games. And I don't really care if they're winning or if they have a winning or losing season, because with these kinds of football leagues, you're not going to have the same team every year. You're not going to have that core nucleus of players that you get in the NFL, because the really, really good players that show that they're good players are going to get snatched up by the NFL. And there's already a bunch of them that have been signed to contracts with the NFL. And the XFL, and for that matter, the USFL, is set up in such a way that they don't hold players to contracts if they get the chance to go to the NFL. And so that's a good thing. That works out well for the players. It works out well for the league, because it tells people that we're a legitimate place that the NFL is watching to get some of their players. And the quality of play in the XFL was, after probably the 3rd week, was actually pretty good. The big problem early on was defense. Offense kind of ruled the day for the first couple of weeks, because the rules are set up in such a way to favor the offense to begin with. So, and if you have a bunch of guys that haven't played together before, and there's no preseason, they had like some scrimmages and stuff as they were putting the teams together, but there were no preseason games to fine-tune your team before the regular season started. And as the season wore on, Well, the defenses got better. The scores started to go down. And teams that weren't playing that well started playing a lot better. Arlington is a great example of that. They only won 4 games the entire year. But at least 2 of them came near the end of the season as they started to kind of get their stuff together. So I hope to see games next year with the XFL. Won't be going to see games with the USFL this year because, well, they don't play anywhere really close. The closest place that they play, and they're not playing in home stadiums yet, is Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And that's a 6 to 7 hour drive each way. And I'm not going to do that just to see a football game. Could do it to see my buddy that lives there. But I don't, traveling right now for me by myself, especially by myself, is iffy. So I'm going to wait. Let's wait and see what happens. All right, that's going to do it for today. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me via email, guy@mymac.com, or podcast@vertshark.com. Those are 2 ways you can get a hold of me. You can reach me on the Twitters. I am MacParrot and VertShark. You can reach me, let's see what these people are doing. Okay. You can reach me via Counter Social and Mastodon as MacParrot. And you can support this crazy stuff that I do if you want. Patreon/VertShark, patreon.com/VertShark. What's the other one? Coffee. Buy me a coffee. ko-fi.com/MacParrot. Or PayPal at paypal.me/MacParrot. And that is going to, hold on, that's going to do it for today. Thank you all so very, very much for joining me on Guy's Daily Drive. I really, really do appreciate it. And I will see all of you next time right here on Guy's Daily Drive. Bye-bye.